When you've been gaming as long as I have, it's not often that a game comes out and truly surprises you. But right now in this video, I'd like to look back at some of the surprising gaming experiences I had throughout the year. These were some of the games that took me by complete surprise and gave me a memorable gaming experience. So at the beginning of the year, I experienced two very special handheld games on my 3DS. I snagged these two digital-only games as the 3DS eShop was about to close. Those two games were Crimson Shroud and Attack of the Friday Monsters. I went into Crimson Shroud knowing only a handful of things. That the game was a tabletop-inspired RPG, which initially made me think, oh god, I'm probably going to hate this given my aversion to tabletop games, as this is literally me. Whenever you try to explain the rules of any board game. So again, I went in knowing that it was a tabletop-inspired RPG and that it was developed by Level 5 and designed by Yasumi Matsuno. And given how much I love Matsuno's work on Final Fantasy XII, I persevered through my tabletop trepidation, and my god, I am so glad I did. Crimson Shroud is the perfect gateway game for anyone looking to get into D&D inspired gaming. With its story of three adventurers looking for the rumored magical artifact, the Crimson Shroud, the story has political intrigue, engaging world building and lore, and goes to so many unexpected places. I highly recommend you give this one a look if you are into Final Fantasy or D&D inspired RPGs. However, you may have to get creative when it comes to experiencing it now that it is no longer available for purchase. Thanks a lot for that, Nintendo. As mentioned before, the next game on the list is Attack of the Friday Monsters, once again on the 3DS. Attack of the Friday Monsters is a cozy game with very light RPG card game mechanics that focus on telling a narrative about friendship, how fantastical life can be through the eyes of a child, and giant kaiju. I am by no means a cozy gamer, as I'm usually too antsy to be experiencing these games. But for some reason, this game really clicked with me. The story was like, what if Studio Ghibli made a Godzilla movie? And given that it was a really breezy 3 to 4 hours to complete the game, it was in and out in the perfect amount of time without overstaying its welcome. It's games like Attack of the Friday Monsters and Crimson Shroud that show how important it is to preserve games as a whole. Because the reality is, had I not bought these digital-only games before the eShop closed, I would have missed out on these inspiring, awesome experiences. Next up on the list are a couple of multiplayer games that completely surprised me this year. Now, when I initially saw footage of Helldivers 2, I was like, not for me. That looks like a Battle Royale inspired multiplayer game that just wants me to play forever and ever and ever with microtransactions up the ass. I'm not down for that. My god, was I wrong. Yes, of course, there are microtransactions in Helldivers 2. And yes, it is a live service game. But my goodness, this is the way to do live service games in my opinion. Helldivers 2 really harkened back to the times of games like, for me, Halo 3, Gears of War, those games that you were just craving to jump online with your friends at the end of a long day and just veg out killing monsters. And the amount of fun and the amount of unexpected experiences that occurred from playing this game was incredible, to say the least. I just can't tell you how many times me and my friends had just random crazy things happen to us while playing this game. And while, yes, the maps were very similar and the objectives kind of grew stale over time, It was the moment-to-moment gameplay that always had us coming back for more because we quite literally had no clue what was going to happen when we went out on a mission. Would it be a breeze? Would it be a walk in the park? Or would we get our asses handed to us by a Bile Titan, or a Charger, or any of the crazy monstrosities that run around on the robot planets? So needless to say, I was completely wrong with my first impressions of Helldivers 2, and I'm so glad that I went in with an open mind with my friends and got this incredible experience that made me feel like a teenager again. When the trailers for Marvel Rivals came out, I'm sure I was like everybody else, extremely skeptical that NetEase was going to be able to out-Overwatch Overwatch. And let's be honest, look, I am a massive Marvel Comics fan. I have been collecting comic books since I was a little kid. I have been going to the MCU films since they started popping off. Hell, I even was going to the movies back when it was the X-Men and the Spider-Man films by Sam Raimi and everything in between. I ate up comic books like you would not believe. And needless to say, Marvel has unfortunately fallen into a bit of a slump since Endgame came out. So, going into Marvel Rivals, I was pretty cautious. I was thinking to myself, I mean, it looks polished, kinda, but really, it just seems like an Overwatch ripoff. What else can they do? I will tell you this right here, right now. Is Marvel Rivals an Overwatch copycat? Yes. That being said, I don't know how this is possible, but for some reason, Marvel Rivals has been able to recapture the fun and the magic that was Overwatch when it initially released. Jumping in with my friends to play Marvel Rivals has been so much fun. We have put hours into this game already, and it's only been out for a few weeks. This game has recaptured that love of team hero-based multiplayer games that honestly, it dissolved for me when Overwatch 2 came out. I just did not enjoy the gameplay with it. And, you know, again, I'm not a big fan of what NetEase is doing right now with the Battle Pass and all that stuff, but I will say that the monetization and the fact that, you know, you have all the characters available at launch without having to pay anything, you know, it's definitely a step up from where Overwatch 2 launched. But man, I just can't get out of my head the fact that we now have a multiplayer game that feels like Overwatch in its best times, and at the same time has revitalized the Marvel property and has made it fun again. I mean, the fact that we're getting really deep-cut characters like Cloak and Dagger in a game, and Jeff the Land Shark of all characters, and introducing some of these awesome characters to a whole new audience is awesome. I mean, shout out to my boy Moon Knight in a freaking game, and he's badass! Thank you, Marvel Rivals. Thank you for an awesome Moon Knight. So with Marvel Rivals and Helldivers 2 out of the way, we move on to our final surprise of the year. And that surprise was Grime. Okay, so I got Grime on my PC as a freebie through the Epic Game Store. And, you know, most of the time I just snag the freebies thinking, oh, you know what, maybe this looks cool, maybe I'll try this at some point, but you know, a lot of times they kind of just sit in the backlog and just kind of go, all right, well, maybe I'll get to them eventually, but I'm not really feeling it right now. For whatever reason, I was in the right headspace at the right time to play Grime. Initially, when I started playing it, I was like, nah, this ain't it, man. I am not down with parrying. Hence why I have not attempted Sekiro yet. I was not down with this gameplay mechanic. It felt a little clunky. It did not give me the kind of satisfaction I was hoping I would get from parrying some of these characters that were attacking me. So again, I wasn't totally on board. But I said to myself, I'm going to stick with this game and let's see where it goes. And I'm so glad that I stuck with it, because once you work past the parrying mechanic, you end up having a fairly traditional Metroidvania, Soulsy style of combat in this game. But the thing that makes this game for me is the traversal and the exploration that happens throughout this world. You are walking around and digging into the nooks and crannies of, and the intrigue that comes with that. Grime's world is fascinating, and when you are playing the game, there's not a whole lot that is explained to you, very much like a Souls-like game. However, where it differs from a Souls-like experience is that there are nuggets of information that is fed to you in a slightly more traditional narrative sense than the vagueness that is in a Souls game. And it was this intrigue and the feeding of the narrative to me throughout the game that really piqued my interest and kept me pushing along, wanting to understand and discover the intricacies of this world. This game goes to some amazing, dark, heady places. We're talking truly existential, horror-inspired world design and lore. And really, I have to hit home on the existential aspect of this game. It is a game that when I was done with it, I could not stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop thinking about the implications of my character and my role in this world and what I was doing to this world and to its characters. I couldn't stop thinking about, the journey that led me to that conclusion and how I started piecing together all these things that meant so much more than I ever realized. It was such an incredible experience, one that I had dreams about when I was done playing. It had that much of an impact on me. And it's playing games like Grime, playing games like Crimson Shroud, Attack of the Friday Monsters, Helldivers, Marvel Rivals, and so on and so forth, that it makes me want to come back to video games. Because yeah, there's a whole lot of corporate BS that's happening right now in the game space. Games seem like they're going through a bit of a growing pains phase right now. But man, if you dig and if you put the effort in, you are bound to find some amazing gaming experiences. They are out there. Seek them out, my friends. But what do you guys think? Did you have any surprises this year as far as gaming is concerned? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.